Come up on a Tuesday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show in just a moment with our guests. Should be good. We're going to hear from Scott Strickland. We're going to hear from our regular Tuesday night slot here, presented by our folks at Titan MRI. David Whitley will join us. Graham Hall standing by. We've got trivia for you tonight. We have a cut for you on Trent Whittemore. We've got a lot going on, so check it out, folks. Stay right here and tell folks that we're on the air. The Buddy Martin Show right now.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. It's been a good day for us. Hope it has been for you. Interesting couple of weeks coming up here soon. I haven't heard the rankings tonight in college football. I couldn't find them on TV, so if you get them, throw them up there. I kind of know what they're going to be. No surprises, but we'll keep up with that news when we have it. And glad to have you aboard tonight for the program. Coming up in just a minute, David Whitley from the Gainesville Sun. Had an interesting lunch today. My honor and pleasure to sit at the head table with Scott Strickland and a couple of my friends, Mike McGinnis, the captain of the quarterback club, Randy Briggs, local attorney, and we hosted about, 60 or so people out of the World Equestrian Center. I say we, the mayor did, and invited us to sit at the head table. And Scott Strickland was very good. I had a chance to talk to him. I haven't got all that audio, but I got some. I'll play it for you, and he had some interesting things to say about Billy Napier and how he went about picking him. So we got that coming up for you tonight. Graham Hall will be here. He'll check in. I think he'll talk about hoops. Disappointing last night. I know all the stuff about, it's only 1 of 35 games and all that. And it's, they're good. No, it's not good enough. You don't lose to Florida Atlantic. You just don't lose to them. I'm sorry. They did, and disappointingly. So not a real good game all the way around, although Colin Castleton certainly did his part. We'll talk with Dave Whitley about that. Later on the show, Lauren Meadows has trivia. I think he's got swag tonight to award somebody because I know we've had 4 weeks now. He promised we'd have a winner coming up, so it might be you. So tell your friends and neighbors we're on the air and tell them that we're standing by with David Whitley. In fact, let's go real fast and hear. And we're going to have a video tonight of earlier in the day when I talked to Shane about Trent Whittemore. I'm really, really sorry to see that young man go. And I think it was a mistake. It was one of those mistakes, however, that really can't be avoided in this thing called college football. Here's what's not a mistake. Titan MRI Hotline. Here's Jeff Cardoza.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff Cardoza, and want to say good evening to Eric Newton. Eric Newton is in the pole position tonight, stepping up his game. Becky Smith-Carlisle just missed it. She's almost always there. Kenny Green, good to see you again. Terry Johnson, you guys have been regular lately. Cindy Neesmith, good to see you. Russ Summers, and Toby C. Permiter. And you guys have all been very loyal by coming on the show. Thank you. Tell your friends and neighbors we're going to be here. David Whitley's going to join us, and we're going to talk about, among other things, it's unfortunate, but a mistake was made on Trent Whittemore, and I don't know how to avoid it. But we'll talk with Dave Willie about that and other things. He's standing by in the orange and blue room. I think he's finishing his last bite of caviar now and taking the Dom Perignon. So let's see. All the amenities okay for you there, Coach?
They're okay. I mean, the champagne, I usually like it about 37 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I think
was it 40?
They had it at about 39 tonight.
Oh, man, I'm going to fire him for that. I'm sorry.
I'll let it go this week.
Part of your contract. I got to live up to it. But it's good to see you, Sir David. And I know I missed you. I kept saying, I know David. I was in the press box, and I don't know that many guys in the press box anymore. And one of the ones I do is you. I thought, where's my man David? I hope he's not sick or anything. Turns out you were on assignment, as they say, right?
Yes. I was there just having to do another story that been working on about a super fan, and this was the last home game, and also I needed to go out and take advantage of the situation while it was there. It's funny how I had so many home games early on. You just sort of assume, well, like then suddenly poof, they're gone. I
know what happened. What happened? Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you're on tonight because I want to talk to you about something that's kind of a little bit unusual. In this crazy world of sports where we see people coming and going, and we know it's all part of the process, and we understand, and we've gotten so immune to it with pro football in terms of players getting cut and whatever. We know that Billy Napier is downsizing, okay? We get it, and I understand things have to go. But today something happened that we knew was coming, but I just happen to have a little personal involvement here. Not really personal involvement, but personal knowledge. And I'm really kind of sorry what happened to Trent Whittemore, because I think it was a mistake. And I understand there was a reason he didn't play. Whatever the coaches say, you have to abide by it. I'm not being so critical of the coaching staff as I am to say the process. And I used the example this morning, and I'm going to play this by a little later. I was talking to Shane, how you make mistakes and people fall in the cracks. And I used the example of Mitch Albom. You've heard the name. And I was talking about he interviewed at the Denver Post one time. He also interviewed at the Washington Post and George Solomon. George and I were comparing notes. Neither one of us hired him. Well, all he did was go and write Tuesdays with Murray and make $1 gazillion and come on the all-time best-selling author. That's how smart we were. He fell in the cracks. Didn't need us. And I suspect this will happen to guys like Whittemore. There are other players that, for whatever reason, don't fit the system. How do you feel about things like that? And do you ever think about writing about it?
Well, actually, I did sort of want to write about this, and but didn't really get anywhere. Sort of reached out to the family, and the Whittemore family is sort of like royalty around Gainesville,
sure.
and deservedly so.
Yeah.
I mean, their father he's an iconic coach, and you will have to look very far and long to find somebody who has a bad thing to say about the Whittemore family and the influence they've had. I mean, they're just good people, and it would have been just a nice story for the hometown boy to make good. I mean, it's sort of like a latter day version of Chris Doering. Yeah. Of course, Doering was really a nobody. I mean, I guess he was a walk-on who became a star. Trent had a little bit more accolades coming out of high school, recruited by Mullen, as we all know, and the change in systems had something to do with it. But I would like to find a bad guy here, but there really isn't one. As you said, it's just the system, unfortunately. The Napier's job is to go out there and put what he thinks is the best product and best players on the field in that position. Ricky Pearsall just was playing better. It's just unfortunate for not just for Trent, for anybody else behind him. It's not as if Trent, like when you use the Mitch Albom analogy, this would be like Mitch Albom coming in and have full friendship, though. You're getting a good of what he can do, and then deciding not to use him. I mean, Trent has been around. They knew what they had, and it's not like he didn't have the opportunity to go out there and practice. Assuming, I don't think that they came in with any preconceptions about anybody, saying, well, this guy can play, this guy can't. I think it was just a simple matter of athletic competition, and it was a numbers game. And it's sad, but I don't know, I don't know what to do about it. In a way, it's sad that he's leaving, but this is also a good part of the transfer portal in that he can announce it fast, and he can find a team, transfer in a month, and be out there for spring practice.
He's gone. He's on for the team now.
Yeah, his career. I mean, he won't miss a beat. Unlike the old days where, all right, well, if I go, I'm going to have to sit out a year, blah, blah, and be sort of, I think unfairly punished for a situation like this. Now, at least, hopefully he can go and find. I mean, by all indications, he'll end up with Creed, his younger brother, at Mississippi State. And
maybe I'm hearing from Shane. It might be someplace else.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe
I don't know.
It is, everybody. I think everybody, in Gainesville and beyond, wishes him nothing but the best. And it would be ironic if he came back and one day haunted him, caught a couple of touchdown passes. But if he did, I don't think it necessarily means that they made the wrong move. Because I don't know if they forced him. Obviously, there are some conversations going on this time of year when they're telling people, kids, look, you might want to look somewhere else because the numbers are such, and we're bringing in people, and that is just the stark reality of it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right, David, and you said it well. But I'm not going to stop there because I think one thing we do is sometimes we push the envelope a little bit and say, well, wait a minute, that may be one view, but I have a different one. And so consequently, I'm hoping for Trent, and I've had just a email exchange with him because he was he was a winner of the Scott Bradley Trophy, the Ocala quarterback club. I got to know him a little bit there, followed him, talked to him a couple of times. He sort of interned with Shane a little bit on his show. He's going to major in communications. You might see him on TV. And I got a bite later I'll play, but he's a very smart young man, great grades, great character, strong faith, a lot of things. He will do well. But just for the heck of it, let's think of some of the best and worst places he could wind up. Okay? For instance, I propose today, put on 25 pounds and go play tight end, be a hybrid, right? And don't go to Mississippi State, go to Tennessee or whatever, or even go to Duke, to find out he's a smart guy, go get your doctorate or whatever, And he's the kind of guy who would do something like that. And I understand, Brandon, you're right. He does have dudes coming in, and I'm okay with that. I'm not making Billy the bad guy here. Look, I went, as you know, David, maybe you don't, I went to a lot of newspapers as sports editor. The top guy coming in who had to make changes on the roster. It was brutal. In New York, you talk about tough. In St. Pete and Denver, everywhere I had to go in and make changes. Because I had to get guys to do it like I thought you were supposed to do it, right? If it's going to be my sports editor in my head that rolls, I got to have people that do things like I would like them to do. So I understand that. I'm not blaming Billy at all. Like you said, it's just the system. It's the way it is. And you're right, Andy. I'm going to mention this later, and that is Josh Braun. Now it says he got an offer from Duke, and then he got one from Penn State. Well, here's a guy starting on the offensive line that's pretty darn good right now. And I'm thinking if I'm looking for offensive linemen around there, I bet he gets a bunch of offers. A big, strong guy, smart. So there will be next chapters in lives for these young people. And I just happen to think the world of Trent and like his family, like you said, their royalty around there. And so in the meantime, I had a conversation with Scott Strickland today. He was in Ocala at the World of Questions Center. And I don't mean to be rambling on because you're the guest here, not me. But he had a nice, short, brief talk with about 60 Gator people. We talked about, he had a really fascinating story about Billy's depth chart. But when he hired him, he already had all the nutritionists 5 deep that he wanted. He had 100 people, and he said he had every position had a backup or more. So that depth chart had to be like 350 people because he'd been keeping it for a long time. He talked about Billy and how he got him and how he made his move early, decided he didn't want to lose him and got the right guy because he'd been studying. Here's the key, what he said. He said he was on the college football playoff committee for a couple of years, And during that time, he was able to see Louisiana play. Now, I saw Louisiana play a couple of times, but not a lot. And I saw something but I didn't get to Billy was who he was. And so he kind of got to know about Billy. And he thought maybe he could maybe that's what he could do at Florida one day in our program. Anyway, Scott was here today. He came in good because Ocala sometimes feels abandoned, by the university. So let me get to you on a couple of things. Here we are. Unless you want to make a comment, but bowls, starting to get bowls, all right? Didn't really mean much a couple of weeks ago. It was like get bowl eligible first, right?
Yeah.
Well, now they're both eligible, and they're as you know, I'll tell you they're 6-4, and they're playing the Vanderbilt. And look, I get there could be hiccups. I've seen that movie before, but they're 14-point favorites. You'll wonder about things like how can Anthony throw in the cold weather and all that stuff. But let's just say it goes normal, and they go to 7-4. Now they're playing a ranked Florida State team. If they beat a ranked Florida State team, now they're going to go to a decent bowl. What's that thing called now? The Rely Quest. It used to be the Outback Bowl in Tampa. That's where they're projecting them now. But they have a chance.
It sounded better as Outback, and I know the food was better probably when it was Outback.
Oh man, I tell you. And then who knows if Clemson's happened to lose as runner-up to the ACC, and I think it could be Florida Clemson in the Gator Bowl. And Shane said, "Well, nobody wants to go to the Gator Bowl." That's not the point. You want your team to play in the highest ranked bowl you can right now, David, so you can be positioned for next year to people to recognize. Now, am I wrong about that, David?
Well, it is more impressive if you have a season-ending win over a name brand like a Clemson, or people are talking Notre Dame, although Notre Dame may be playing itself into even a higher bowl. Remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, you're better off. You're certainly better off using that as a springboard than playing in the Las Vegas Bowl, and beating Baylor or somebody like that who's having a down year. I as a Jacksonville native, I got to defend my hometown bowl. I think they'd be happy to go to the Gator Bowl. I mean, once you're there, you're going to be treated right. You're going to get a lot of swag and everything, and why not? Considering where this team was 2 weeks ago, when you were thinking, if they go to the the St. Pete, whatever, Poulan, that
Weed Eater, that was Shreveport. Shreveport.
Yeah. Yes, anything like that, where beggars couldn't be choosers. Now, the way they're playing, an upswing, and that is definitely the dream scenario now for Gator fans. Take care of business this week. Pull off. I presume that they will probably be an underdog going in the Tallahassee, being a road game, and the way the Seminoles have been playing. But nobody thinks that game is not winnable, so they win that. And boy, they go to a bowl and do beat a name brand team and finish on an upswing 9-4. I mean, you talk about some momentum going into next year. Of course that's the ceiling scenario. But you want to. Gosh, yeah. I mean, Clemson. That would be great. And plus, I think they would like to measure themselves against a Clemson at this point.
Good point. Yeah.
I mean, you'd rather go out there than have a rematch against UCF again. Although that would be fun in its own way. See how those programs. A year later, you don't see that happening. But I mean, it would be a lot of fun to see them. I mean, because Clemson or Notre Dame, that these are the kind of teams that they want to be, kind of programs they want to be like, and it would be really interesting to see them go up against somebody like that, as opposed to a team that just having a so-so team that happen to have a good year and get into a good bowl.
Well, this team, I'm not seeing Vanderbilt a lot. I know Mike Wright is kind of the new rage. He's a starting quarterback and apparently played quite well. They beat Kentucky. Who would have thought that would have happened 6 weeks ago? Kentucky. Yeah. I'm tired of people. I said this today, trying to sell me on Kentucky and South Carolina every year. Oh, it's going to be different now. Boy, Mark Stoops has got a great team. He's a great coach, man. And look at Shane. The Shane train's really rolling South. Don't sell me that stuff. It ain't true. All right, and they're pretenders. All right. Now Vanderbilt could be a little trouble, but they shouldn't be. And if they play. I would be a little concerned. Now, this is picky, but weather makes a difference. There's a reason Billy said nobody talks weather this week. Because, Nashville weather, it's a little nippy this time of year. And, although he says it doesn't matter, Anthony Richardson hasn't played that many games in cold weather, and accuracy is as big as Achilles' heel. And what happens to your hands when they get cold? It affects your accuracy. So I suppose it could happen. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a concern. Although there's cold and then there's really cold, and I think it's going to be high 30, maybe over 40 degrees, which is once you get out there, I don't think it's going to be too bad. It's not like one of these 25 degree and below games where you see your breath and all that. And I think that they will, once they get loose, they'll be okay on that end. It is sort of between that though and the 11 o'clock start again.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just sort of funky, and you're going to be playing in a atmosphere which it'll never be mistaken for LSU on a Saturday night. They're going to have to create their own adrenaline to get out there. So from that aspect, it's a challenge. But when you get down to it, Clark Lee's done a nice job changing things around. The culture there. They thought like somebody they were thinking anything over 4 wins would be a big plus. And so for them, Kentucky was a mega win, breaking the 26 game SEC losing streak.
Yeah.
So you don't know if that's going to make them play looser, or we got that monkey off our back, or now that they got that down, they're just.
You wonder. You really wonder. Yeah, Billy said he thought they'd be a different team now with a win. I don't maybe, and we'll see.
You don't. Yeah.
But I guess it's. I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
Yeah, I say, by all rights, there's Florida should not lose this game.
No. But I have visions, and you've seen this when Spurrier's team struggled up there. His really good teams had real close games. I know people say, well, doesn't matter, but, it's in your psyche a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Be a nice chance to go 7-4 and this team to get right. And I know Billy is excited about the way his team has played. Look, if he can't throw the football, I know they can run it. They got a couple of. They got
that the last couple of weeks, and what I never thought we'd be talking about 2 weeks ago is they might even be able to rely on their defense to help these days. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they got some awfully good play on that offensive line. They got some guys that are playing really well.
Right.
Osiris is the offensive lineman of the week. He's second straight week. They got Barber. They got guys that are stepping up, and they're kind of controlling the line of scrimmage. Something, by the way, that Vanderbilt did apparently against Kentucky. I didn't see that, but I heard that, and they dominated pretty much Kentucky. So that might change things a little bit. But they've got some good offensive line play, and like Billy said, it's what we do: run the ball. I mean, certainly Etienne and Johnson are a terrific change of pace. As we saw in the swamp on Saturday night, Etienne's long run, and they talked about Johnson being a guy that is just so powerful and fast, and he commits to the hole and whatever. So, and so much so that guys like Naquan Wright couldn't get on the field. He was supposed to be the best back last year. So
and that's sort of reminds of of the Trent Whittemore thing. Everybody loves Naquan. He's a great guy, a team leader. Giving it all, and a great story coming back from the injury last year. But as the season is wore on, you've just seen how how do you keep a guy like Johnson on the bench or Etienne and not feed them the ball? Unfortunately, that just means that other people don't get it as much as you'd like. It's just survival of the fittest is football, and these guys you gotta go with what you think is best. It was just. You wish all these stories would turn out right, but they just can't.
My friends from Louisiana, my Cajun friends, say, you're pronouncing it wrong, buddy. This is why. It's Sean. It's Sean. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not fluent in say Cajun and whatever,
Right. I tell you what, I want to hear the first TV announcement on this weekend's game or whoever who says, and it goes to Trevor, Sean. That's the kind of reaction they get.
For sure.
Let's say 49 out of the 50 states will go, huh?
Yeah. Coming up tonight, we have Graham Hall asking about some recruiting things. And also, I want to get a couple of things into you that are non-Gator stuff. Folks, I'm sorry. Sometimes, David, I like to have conversations that aren't always about the Gators. Like I heard this is the rumor mill going on. These days the rumor mill's everything with coaches and this and that. But one of the stories I heard I like, I just can't believe it would be true. Out of New York, that the Rays are trying to get Mike Trout.
Really?
How about that for a thing? I don't know if it's true, but I like it. Yeah.
It would certainly be a non-Rays kind of move, because they're that's how they've operated that franchise for 20 years. Is when a guy gets up to the Mike Trout stage, they got to let him go.
Yeah.
For a bunch of picks that they then use for a couple of years. And then when they get the big salary, they trade him away. I mean, I certainly think it would serve Mike Trout well to get a change of scenery, but that would be curious if they would go for a Mike Trout, given his salary and the fact he seems like half the time he's not, he's hurt.
That's true. Well, we'll see. I would love to see if the standpoint of a big guy. I watched 60, 70 games a year at Rays, and I'd like to see Mike Trout.
It would definitely goose the ratings, when he's up there, and you wonder how maybe they're thinking, because their lease is finally up in 2027.
Right.
There's still 5. How that plays into it. Do they? Because gosh, that is the cliff that they've been sort of speeding towards for years, and they haven't been able to figure out what they're going to do. I mean, you've had it seems like a dozen different plans on how to solve that seemingly Rubik's cube of attendance, and even down to playing half the year in Montreal and half in St. Pete. It's just crazy. That is going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, you know what? Maybe Mike Trout will build that stadium for him. He'll come here and hit 60 home runs, and they'll say, "I'll get a big crowd coming out." They'll say, "Help us build I don't know, stuff going on."
The house that Trout built. That's a nice
exactly right. It's like when Elway came to Denver and won a couple Super Bowls. All right, so his last one for you, David. I want to talk golf, and I'm sorry I can hear people saying, "Oh no." Well, yes, because Rory made a bit of McIlroy made kind of a controversial statement today. Mm-hmm. If you've been following that LIV thing and all the stuff going on, Rory's taking it upon himself to be kind of fight that battle and go up against guys. And he was in Dubai, and apparently he called for Greg Norman's head as LIV commissioner. And he said, "I think Greg needs to go. I think he needs to exit stage left."
Yeah.
And I guess they're talking about the possibility of doing something, the two leagues getting together, which is kind of a ridiculous thing to do because nobody sees the LIV. And, and some of those guys are great players, but they're not relevant anymore. They play in the majors, but you don't see them over here. So you got to be seen. So Roy says, no one's going to talk unless there's an adult in the room that can actually try to mend fences. So there's two things here. One is that's the first overture I've heard about that at all. And the second is Rory's going up against mighty Greg Norman. Your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that he said that, because he's usually, even though he's been the leader in this, so sort of like the mouthpiece of the PGA players,
mm-hmm.
He usually doesn't say things that are can be turned into quick catch of headlines, and boy, he did today with the adult in the room thing. I think that there's got to be a little personality clash in there somewhere. I mean, Norman he has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I can almost see how his desire, I think, to punish the PGA Tour as much as possible and to take it as big a pound of flesh as possible might interfere with his better business judgment, and that they need somebody who's a little bit less emotionally attached to it on the LIV side. Conversely, I am surprised that that they would offer any sort of olive branch to the LIV Tour, because I don't know where you compromised. I mean, do you let these guys play some? Let them into the majors? What do you do? Yeah. I guess in a way, we're just tacitly acknowledges, all right, this thing is here. There's so much money, it's not going to go away. Let's just
deal with it
as best we can. But we can't do that as long as we have somebody like Greg Norman running the thing, who seems to have more of a personal vendetta against the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Might let that, and that might interfere with his better judgment as just as a business person.
Well, he was hired because he is combative. That's why they hired him, so that's what they're getting for him. David, what are you writing about tomorrow?
You're going to hate this. Talk about fans who don't read it. Yeah, it's the world's biggest sporting event. You know what I'm start
World
Sunday.
World Cup.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah, well, it's Vandy week, and it's sort of just an explainer on it is pretty darn interesting. That they're it's always been in the summer. Now they're doing it smack dab in the middle of NFL season of all things. And all the other stuff that's going on with it being in Qatar or Qatar or that's another question I want to answer. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Qatar.
How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think officially it's Qatar.
I call it Qatar. I can't spell Qatar that way. Qatar.
I know Qatar, but
yeah.
For the amount of money that you have, if you're a native there, I'll call it anything they want me to call it.
There you go. Hey, speaking of World Cup soccer, I brought this guy on because he's up next. I know he'll be watching it. He's a soccer fan, and he loves that you're writing about the World Cup. Right, Graham?
Maybe he knows. Graham, is it Qatar or Qatar?
Oh man, like you, I was told it was Qatar, but I'd be lying if I said I was perfect at calling it that every single time.
Let's make a decision on the Buddy Martin show right now. Let's call it Qatar, okay? From now on, let's just call it Qatar, all right? So Qatar is Qatar.
No one get mad at me.
Qatar, but it's never going to be Trevor Echian.
Echian. That's how they pronounce it down in the Cajun country, according to my friends. Before you go, Graham and David, you guys give me a 30-second scenario of what you see happening for the U.S. and what teams to watch for. You go first, Graham, on the World Cup.
I think if the U.S. can get into that round of 16 and be second in that group with England, that would be a massive victory for the United States. They got great players, got a lot of players who are actually playing in top leagues right now. Beating England's going to be a tough ask, but if they can beat Iran, I think that they can absolutely move on here. I think that'd be the best case scenario for them. And then you get in the round of 16, it's anyone's tournament there.
David?
Tell you what, if we don't beat Iran, I'm going to be humiliated. I think it's humiliating. We can't lose to Iran in anything. Come on, England, I can see. Wales, right? Isn't that the other team in our group? But,
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and that's just a patriotic pride. Says, come on, Iran beat the U.S. Oh man, our foreign policy can't be that bad. We can't do that. But
like my redneck friend said, we can't. I'm sorry, David. You finished.
France is the defending champ, right, Graham?
Yes, they won it in 2018.
The French.
You know what they say about defending
French
champs? There's a curse for the defending champs. They say that they get knocked out early the next year, every single year. So France may be jinxed to not get out of the round, out of the knockout round here. So
like what Bama's going through this year.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to repeat. I think college football fans can say that. So you apply the same logic to the World Cup, you'll be okay next week.
Yeah. I was going to say, my redneck friend Bubba says we ain't losing to Iran and no Italians. Just so you know, all right.
Well, they didn't make it. Yep.
Yeah, no, they didn't make it in.
Italy's not in here this year.
No.
So.
All right, listen. Thanks a lot, David. Be well, and we'll talk to you next week. And hang around, Graham. We're going to come back to you. All right.
Okay. Good night, gentlemen.
All right. Good night, gentlemen. All right. So Graham, I want to ask you what happened to the basketball team last night.
Well, I say all the time that college basketball, it's not like college football. You're not going to run the table, and one loss is not the sky is falling, right? You're going to end up playing 35-plus games in a season, and if you lose an early game as a new coach with a roster that, has been quote-unquote rebuilt, but still retains 6 guys from last year and a mix of guys still getting to know each other, play with intensity at this time of year, have a lot of confidence in the system, really not be overthinking. That's a kind of a tough ask right now, if you ask me, especially if you look at some of these pieces, how late they got here. Riley Kugel, Alex Schmizik only getting on campus in August there. Colin Castleton, I mean, he's been dominant. That's a guy who didn't get cleared until mid-August. This is a team that is going to have to continue to work its way into playing at the top level that it's capable of playing at. Defensively, I think especially their half-court defense, defending the three-point line right now, rotating off of picks, that stuff is going to need to improve down the stretch. But that's why you play tough games like this. You want to be challenged this early. You're willing to take a couple of non-conference lumps. You know, this is just a quadrant 2 loss for me. I think the Florida Atlantic is going to be better than a lot of people think. I think they're going to win 16 games or more this season. They shot really, really well. That number 1 guard, the guy who got injured for a little bit, John L. Davis, I think he's going to be a legitimate player in this day and age. And, give Dusty May some credit. That's a guy who learned under Mike White, has been there for several years, was a good assistant at Louisiana Tech. I mean, this game meant a little bit more to him, I think you could say, coming back to his old stomping grounds and a place where he had a lot of memories, was involved in the recruitment of some of those guys like Niles Lane, I mean, Jason Jatobo as well. So a huge win for Florida Atlantic. I don't think it says too much long-term about this Florida team right now, certainly, and maybe, we'll kick some things into gear and, kind of accelerate what needs to happen here for this team to pick it up. But I don't think it's really overly concerning right now, necessarily.
Having a little bit of audio issues there on your end for some reason. I don't know why, but we can get through it here. Let's talk about, for a second, recruiting. I know you don't do a lot of it like you used to, but you're aware of what's going on. I heard tonight that DJ Lagway is going to come in on the 7th. I don't get into crystal ball stuff. I couldn't tell you about that. Florida's got a shot at this. I wonder whether a shot of thing will affect that. What are you hearing about DJ Lagway, the quarterback? I guess he's from Willis, Texas, right? And whether Florida has an inside and will Washada affect his decision?
Well, first thing I got to say is that for him to commit at this point in time, December 7th, nearly a year out from when he will end up signing with a program as a 2024 guy, obviously it goes without saying that a lot can change. But if you get someone like this in your class this early, it usually bodes well for your ability to land offensive playmakers in this class moving forward. And so this is someone that a lot of programs would like to have certainly in their class to give them some momentum in 2024. And part of the reason why I think that December is an ideal window is because you also get a sense of where the attrition is at. It's a couple of days after the transfer portal has opened. You'll, I think, have seen maybe some guys have made decisions at these places, whether it's Miami, whether it's even here at Florida. What happens with Anthony Richardson, the other quarterbacks on Florida's roster, Jack Miller, Jalen Kitna, what happens with them? I mean, even Kyle Engel could be a guy who now that he's graduated, looks elsewhere. It's something where I think he's going to have a chance up until that day to assess whatever the landscape is and then make, I think, a very good decision. But you have to think that Florida looks really, really good right here. They're going to have to, recruit him till the very end. Obviously, LSU, a team as well, that is going to be one who, Florida's going to have to fend off for Lagway and also, guys like Desmond Ricks. So you're going to have to recruit against a team that now looks like they're going to head to the SEC championship game, right, in LSU. So that is certainly a factor here as we get down the stretch. I think that this is something that could change over the next 3 weeks here, but certainly it's going to be an interesting battle. If Florida can end up, landing this guy right after landing Jaden Rashada, I don't know what happens with Marcus Stokes in that case. Maybe Florida, is able to hold 3 quarterback commits for guys who are going to enroll in the span of 12 months. I think that would be a very promising thing, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. If they're able to do that, though, I think it speaks highly to what I think was a pressing question for Billy Napier upon his arrival. Would he be able to land top talent in the Southeast? Because, yeah, he was able to develop and lead a winning program at Louisiana, but you hadn't seen him necessarily go toe-to-toe with the likes of LSU, Alabama, Auburn, and bring those kids in. So if he's able to do that within the first year of being in Gainesville, I think that just speaks more to whether he's cut out to be here or not.
Great stuff from Graham Hall. Read him in 247 Sports. Always love having the Minister of Information on the program and tell folks how they can get what you read, what you write.
Yeah, if you want more recruiting coverage, Blake Alderman has us covered at Swamp 247. Also got a great message board. Check it out. Always a good conversation every single day, after the game, before the game. I'm engaging with fans on there during the game, so check it out. Got a lot of stuff coming up tomorrow as well. Some more basketball content before Florida plays Florida State on Friday. Also, I'll be heading up to Nashville this week to cover Florida Vanderbilt, so a lot of stuff coming up. Make sure you check it out, swamp247.com. We got a podcast coming as well, and obviously I'll be back pretty soon here and talk with you guys.
Take a jacket when you go. Stay warm.
Man, I'm going to try. I'm going to be freezing.
Thanks, Graham. Travel safe.
Bud.
All right.
See y'all.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Meldon Law, where you matter most.
This is Lauren Meadows with Gator Bait Media, bringing to you a new special treat that we're going to have for you guys. Every Tuesday, I'm going to ask a trivia question from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Who will be the first to get it? If you are, you'll be in line for great prizes every month. We'll enter you into a drawing, and we'll see who's top in trivia. I'll do my best to stump you guys every single week from right here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. For Gator Bait Media, this is Lauren Meadows. We'll see you inside.
He's everywhere. He's on the road. He's here. He's there. He's got a question for you tonight. And I think he's got his list of swag winners. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Let's go talk to Coach Lauren Meadows. What's up, Coach?
Hey. What's up, buddy?
Well, I would say what's up is the basketball team is headed the other wrong direction, and the football team is going that way. And everybody's trying to say, well, it's just one game at 35. I don't care. I don't think it's good for your program to lose to Florida Atlantic. Good team and all that stuff, but you just don't.
I agree. I think I've heard you kind of talk all day, and you and I are in agreement on that one for sure. Not a good loss. There's no such thing this early in the season, and let's face it, Florida fans and basketball pundits did not expect this from the Gators, particularly the way they've been playing. And I agree. I think they look stagnant offensively. I don't think they got out and defended the way they should have. And I think I understand that the offense needs to go through Colin Castleton, but I think they need to find some opportunities to move the ball a little bit more. They were supposed to kind of have some guys that were built to slash and manipulate the middle of the floor.
Yeah, where were they? Sometimes there was nobody in the middle of the floor. They got a perimeter out there. Were they all shooting threes? And I get it. I think Colin, should be interrupting you. As I said this morning, Shane Castleton is dominant. He's had 2 or 3 points. He's been great. But he got no business out there shooting threes. Once a game, maybe. But, you don't shoot 3 threes out there. That's not his game. And then he's getting the ball, dribbling through triple team. I mean, that's not who he is,
Yeah.
And I don't
agree.
know.
I agree. You're right on that with that.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I want to play something for you. You might have seen it this morning. I want to talk about this. It's unfortunate this is the system that's built. I really feel bad about Trent Whittemore not falling into cracks. And he can play. We know he can play. You know he can play. He knows he can play. Billy knows he can play. But it just wasn't meant to be. It's nobody's fault. I'm not being critical of Billy. I know he has to make choices. He didn't fit his slot receiver. I just got a feeling about this. Let me play a little bit of this video, and you comment after I come back, all right?
Yes, sir.
Takes on Trent Whittemore. I don't understand.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to say that, but you weren't going to give me time to say it. But I want to say this. And don't let me forget to tell you about the event I'm going to at noon with Scott Strickland here in Ocala whack the Gator fans because that's important. Trent Whittemore is a unfortunate victim of falling through the cracks of the system. I understand how that can happen. I've made mistakes too. My friend George Solomon of the Washington Post and I talked last week. We had a guy named Mitch Albom come to our place at the Denver Post and the Washington Post who all wanted a job for Fort Lauderdale. We didn't hire him. George or myself didn't hire him. Is that a mistake? Well, he went on to become one of the best-selling authors of all time in Detroit. He's a household name there. He wrote a book called Tuesdays with Maury, which was now been translated in 80 million languages. He's made $1 billion writing. So, yeah, I made a mistake. He fell through the cracks. I should have hired him. Trent Whittemore falling through the cracks was a mistake because he's too good of a football player, too good of a person, and for whatever reason, he didn't fit their system. I don't know the coaching reasons. Maybe he wasn't the fastest guy in the world. I wish him the best. I got his job picked out for him. I think he needs to put on 25 pounds, become a hybrid tight end, go play somewhere at an academic place like Duke or somewhere and get a great education and tell everybody you made a mistake, you should have gotten me, because he fell through the cracks. I love Trent Whittemore. I know him a little bit. You know him well. He was our Scott Bradley Trophy winner here in Ocala. He's a fine man. He's got strong faith. He's got good academics. He comes from a good family. And maybe he'll go to Mississippi State and play with his brother. I don't know. But I'm really sad that Trent Whittemore didn't make it here. It was a mistake. I'm not blaming the coaches. I get it. But it's too bad because he could have played and helped. He didn't get the chance. All right, Warren. Go ahead. Tell me. React to that.
All right. Well, everything you said is true, and except for, and I'm going to put my media hat on, you're grooming me. I'm not necessarily saying him not playing is not a mistake. I've told people this for, what week are we on? Week 10? That, we got better players. They have better players, let me rephrase that, at the University of Florida. Trent was someone that probably, was given some opportunities because Dan Mullen and Billy Gonzalez, to their fault, in my opinion, played, 6-7 receivers. They would alternate series and things like that. So we saw Trent in a role that, probably I didn't think he was necessarily suited for. I never was in love with him as a slot receiver.
Wrong position for him to play.
What's that?
It was the wrong position for him to play.
Well, and I thought that for someone who, had may have had limited speed but had some quickness, I thought he was maybe suited a little bit better for the outside position.
Absolutely. I've told you that a bunch of times, yeah.
But at this time, I just don't think he had the vertical speed. And, like I said, I just think Florida has better receivers. And people don't want to hear that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of good kids that unfortunately don't get an opportunity to play. I knew a young man named Donnie Evage, who's a great young man, went to Ohio State, kind of the same thing, and just never could find his way on the field, but is a super young man. He's like a Trent Whittemore, comes from a great family. I mean, all those things, great high school player. And it just, I think people underestimate the talent that we have at wide receiver. I mean, we really haven't, the receivers have not been an issue at the University of Florida this season. And I just think that, it's unfortunate, but, when you use the term mistake, I mean. No,
let me explain something. I didn't mean the mistake is the system that overlooks a player that can't fit him into the system. That's all. I'm not saying Billy made a mistake. I'm saying they did what they had to do as coaches. But I've seen mistakes made by coaches before, and you have too, and they don't get guys on the field. I'm just saying. Yeah. I mean, if he goes to Tennessee and puts on 25 pounds and becomes a tight end, man, all SEC, would he be a mistake then? Well, maybe not. Maybe it just wasn't the right system. I've seen players who.
Right, but as a coach, you got to run. I mean, I definitely wouldn't make sure that my system fit Trent Whittemore.
No, I get it. I get it. I get it. And I've done it myself as a manager. I said this several times. I've gone to papers and I've had to make changes. They were not very popular. Sometimes I was wrong. It's going to happen. I say maybe you said what I should say. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. But buddy, even if you look at last year, and I'm trying to think. We probably, even last year, Trent Whittemore was maybe Florida's fifth best receiver, probably. And then you add Ricky Pearsall, who, right now probably is our best all-around receiver.
No doubt. Not proper, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I told somebody the other day, iron sharpens iron, and it's rough out here, man. I've said that a million times on your show. It is rough out here, man, and you gotta. At a place like Florida. I remember I saw a quote from a guy at Alabama back when Saban 3-4 years ago when Saban really had those dominant defenses, and his exact quote was, "We be in practice trying to kill each other because it's that much of a dog eat dog world at this level." And people could say, well, it's just like somebody said here, Pearsall is Billy's guy. No, Pearsall is Pearsall's guy. The guy is he's good, man. You put him against a lot of other receivers, and he's legit. This is not the time for favoritism when you getting paid $5, $6, $7 million a year. You just don't have time. I just don't think. I think people need to just come to grips with, the fact that in most cases, the best players are going to play. And right now, Trent Whittemore is not one of the better receivers in this program. And that's okay. It doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make Billy Napier a bad person. But, we've talked about it a million times when you're picking a team and you're getting to things like Dave said. Ultimately, the young man got a degree from UF, and that's what it's about. We talked about that with some of the other guys that left last year, with Emory Jones and some of those things. And it's just rough out here, man. And fortunately, they've made the rules where someone like Trent Whittemore can leave, find somewhere to play, maybe find somewhere that fits him a little better. And, could it be at Tennessee if he puts on 20, 25 pounds? Maybe.
Hybrid tight end.
Yeah, that's a good call, buddy. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into playing that position, obviously, and moving around. But he is a smart kid, So he knows some things. But I just think where this program is going and where it needs to be, it's just a casualty of war. And,
okay, you beat me down. You beat me down. You beat me down. But but keep in mind, I didn't say that Billy was a bad guy.
No.
Or that he did it wrong. Yeah. I said it's unfortunate and he fell in the cracks, Right. And I happen to know the young man, and maybe I'm a little bit prejudiced in that regard for the kind of young man he is. But I'm not, I'm trying to talk about this. I've seen this happen before. I've seen this movie over the years many times with players that didn't make it. We'll see. Everybody's thinking they're an expert on Trent. Don't underestimate him. I will say that. Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the matter. You got swag to give away here, brother. Let me give you a question.
Sir.
All right,
so we picking the winner from the other time. We're gonna do the question first.
Which was your deal? Whatever you want to do. Which one?
Let's pick last month's winner first.
All right, now just legit. I want to see the hands above the table. I wish Marcia was there so she could do it for you, because I don't think I trust you.
I got my box of names.
All right. Shake it up.
I'm ready to roll. So,
and tell us what they win. All right, just pick them out. Pick out the winner.
So the winner, compliments of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, will receive a $50 gift certificate for Spurrier's Gridiron Grill swag.
Okay.
Sound good?
Swag. All right. So I might have a little something to throw in there too, a book or something, and we'll see. And we'll fatten this up as we go along. We're just putting this in. We're on a low budget here. So, all right. Kenny says shake them up. He wants you to shake them up. All right.
Closing my eyes. I'm shaking them up.
All right. I wish we could see your hands better. You got, you're so down. We don't know what you're doing there. All right. That's an awful big box for those little cards. Now, don't look at them. Just draw one without looking, dude. You can't look at
I
them.
did. I drew it. The winner is Toby C. Permiter.
Ah, all right. Congratulations.
Toby C. Permiter is the winner of the monthly.
Yeah, Toby's
swag
on here
guide.
regularly. Yeah, congratulations.
First
Yeah.
ever debate trivia drawing. And Toby, reach out to me or Buddy. Give us your address.
Well, how does he get in touch with you, Lauren? What's the best way? You gonna DM you or what?
Yeah, just hit me up on Facebook Messenger and
All right. Congratulations, Toby. And I might have a box of stuff to look at. Maybe an old book or something I'll throw in there too. Authentic stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, David Baldo says he's sorry he's late. You are late, David. You did. We drew your name out once, and you weren't here, so you missed out on the prize. No, you didn't. He was just kidding. Yeah. So, so guys are watching that basketball game. All right, so there you go. So now you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
We got one in there from last week, don't we already? Don't we have one from last week?
Well,
you put them in together already? You put them in together
you
then.
got play the one from today. It's a good one.
All right, this is Lawrence. He goes out here and does this from the restaurant, folks. So he works hard here.
Lauren Meadows with Gator Bay Media here, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill with Tuesday Night Trivia. The Vanderbilt Commodores, Florida's opponent this week, became a charter member of the Southeastern Conference in 1932. Who were the 3 charter members that are no longer members of the Southeastern Conference? Be the first to buzz in, and you'll be entered into this month's drawing for prizes and much more. For Gator Bait Media, this is Lauren Meadows.
Good job. That's a good one. I know the answer to that, and it's not easy.
No,
you'd be surprised.
Right there.
One of them you'll be real surprised at. So, for sure, yeah. When I first started covering, by the way, two of those teams were in there. Not the one, not the old one. So, all right. So we got a couple of minutes. Let's talk about the game this weekend. Let's talk about building on what they got going on. We've discussed this a bunch of times about what's ahead for this team, what could be ahead for this team, and I'm not going to have time to play my video tonight with Scott Strickland today at the luncheon. Sorry you couldn't be there for that. And were all the questions. Senator Brendan and I went out there, and Franz was on his way and had car trouble, but we had a good turnout. And I asked Scott about could he use his influence to get Big Dez on the field for us on offense. Of course, I know it's not going to happen, but all right. So I think they're in position in a good spot. They obviously a win here sets them up for success. They're favored by 14. It's going to be cold. It might cause Anthony a little problem gripping the football. If you haven't played quarterback in cold weather, and I have, it's different. And Anthony has had an accuracy problem. It could affect him, but they can run the rock if they have to. That's a good thing about it, and they've run it really well. So, you're going to get ready to do your Gator Bait assessment or in your analysis of what to expect. Give us a hint of what to expect.
Well, I think like I've said before. I mean, the big thing is I think to manage the outside noise, for lack of a better term, and what I mean or a phrase is, around 25 degrees at game time, 11 o'clock start. The Vanderbilt Stadium is one of the worst stadiums I've ever been to in college football, and that's including some in the MAC. So it's just getting yourself up to play a conference game that really doesn't feel like a conference football game. I think that the Vanderbilt Commodores will have the attention of the Florida Gators after they beat Kentucky the other day and really ran the ball and moved the ball extremely well against South Carolina the week before. And, they're back to their original day one starter, Michael Wright, who, was kind of the darling after Vanderbilt got out to a 2-0 start and was looking good, scoring some points. So, the big thing is for, the Florida Gators to just really go in, take care of business, and go on to the next one, which is a big rivalry game against Florida State. I mean, I think that, the best thing that the Florida Gators have going for them is have run game, will travel. And what that means is no matter where you go, and they've proven no matter what stadium they're in, for the most part, they can get down and run the football. So, if Anthony Richardson has trouble with the elements, or the elements prevent them from maybe moving the ball through the air in some ways, you'd still have the chunk plays available in the run game and things like that. So, I mean, I think that, from an analytical standpoint, this is a roster where you're not going to find many Vanderbilt players that are better than the Florida football team, and just, going out and handling business. So the analysis is, after a couple big wins, just maintaining focus, kind of dealing with some of the distractions of a couple guys, departing from the team, and just maintaining the focus that they've had basically the last 8 quarters.
All right. We already have a bunch of answers. I don't know if you can see them or not, but if you want me to read them out to you or what?
No, I can see him. Looks like Rob Sniffen was the first to answer. And answer correctly.
I guess he means Georgia Tech when he says Tech. Oh, you want to count that one?
Yeah, that counts.
The one is, and you can Google it, I know, but I mean, unfortunately, we have to do some of these you can Google. But Swanee's one surprises people, and Georgia Tech was in it for a long time, and Tulane was too. When I first started with Swanee, I did. Swanee has a great history. Sometimes look it up, you'll see some things about Swanee, things they did. All right, so who is it who won?
Rob Sniffen.
Sniffen. All right,
Tulane,
Rob.
Swanee, and Georgia Tech.
So now he's in the hunt and in the hopper, and we get a draw for him, and we'll give him $50 worth of merchandise, right? Whatever that is, and then we'll throw in an old artifact of some kind, and you get in touch with Lauren, and he will tell you how to get it. All right, Coach, you're not going this weekend, right?
No. With all respect due to the city of Nashville and the great state of Tennessee, I went to Knoxville, so I've seen enough. And it's going to be about 25 degrees at game time.
Yeah, that's the real reason. That's the real reason right there. See, yeah. I know you.
To this Florida weather. And,
oh, boy. There you were in Dayton, Ohio, down here. Now you become a sun child. All of a sudden, you can't take the cold weather. It's too cold. It's probably 19 below in Dayton. Whatever. Yeah, so.
They had snow this weekend. My mother said they had a couple inches down in Dayton. I think they have 4 or 5 in Cleveland. So
I know it's.
Year up there.
You don't be sending any pictures of sunny beaches to your mom, okay? It's not a good thing to do there. They don't like that. All right, Lauren, good job as usual. We'll talk to you Thursday. When we talk Sunday, Orange and Blue Blood Sunday morning, right? We'll be doing it again.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for the good job on getting the trivia, and give my best to your bride, and we'll do our Orange and Blue Blood pledge probably Sunday after the deal. Take care, my friend.
All right. And tell Eric Newton he's right. Skyline Chili's pretty good.
Listen, my wife talked to me about Skyline Chili since I first got married. She's from Cincinnati, okay?
Right.
So she talked about it ad nauseum to where I thought it was like some world delicacy. And I finally went to Cincinnati about third or fourth year. I've been there, but we went to the Skyline Chili. I'm sorry. It's just chili. That's all it is, okay? Come on.
Well,
it's just chili.
It's a different mix.
It's just chili. It's just chili. Yeah. Whatever. So... Anyway, it's like people coming down here and saying, I've never eaten okra or something. And you eat okra, that just tastes like, that tastes, or grits. They'll say, well, I haven't seen any flavored grits whatsoever. That's how it is. It's all about where you're from. Right. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Say bye. I want to thank our guests tonight, also our sponsors, and Star Medical Research, a terrific stakeholder in our community. They do many, many good things. And among the things, they look out after our health. I can't say enough about their facility, which is high quality, patient-centered. There's research there that goes to biomedical companies everywhere, to find the right mixture of what we need to put in our bodies to combat some of these things that we take and deal with things like diabetes and psoriasis and osteoarthritis, etc., migraine headaches, and those conditions that affect us. And so they're looking out for us. They've been doing these research trials since 1998, over 700 of them. You can take part in some if you want to look it up and go to winstar.net and see what they do. If you'd like to be a part of those, I know you get compensated for time and travel and what have you. But they continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies, and they are a first-class bunch of people. WinStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks to them. Thanks to Titan MRI. Thanks to Meldon Law. And all of our sponsors. And thanks to Main Street Community Bank, now sponsor of the Orange and Blue Room, right here in the Buddy Martin Show. We'll be back again tomorrow night. We've got our usual lineup. We got David Moulton will be here, among others, and Scott Carter. So join us in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, same time, same station.